Welcome to this lesson on factorizing Monic quadratic expressions. By the end of this session, you will be able to factorize expressions in the form x squared plus bx plus c into two brackets, a skill essential for your IGCSE exams. First, what does Monic mean? It simply means that the coefficient of the x squared term is 1. You will see these expressions frequently in your papers, often worth 2 or 3 marks. To factorize these, we are looking to put the expression back into two sets of brackets. We need to find two numbers that multiply to give the constant term, c, and add together to give the coefficient of x, which is b. Let's look at how this works in practice. Our first objective is to factorize a quadratic where all the terms are positive. This is the simplest case, because both signs in our brackets will be plus signs. We start by looking at the constant term, which is positive 10. We need two numbers that multiply to give 10. Let's list the factor pairs. Now we look at the middle term, positive 7. We need to find which of these pairs adds up to 7. 1 plus 10 is 11, so that is not it. 2 plus 5 is 7. This is our pair. Now we set up our two brackets. Since it is an x squared term, we place an x at the start of each bracket. Then, we simply drop our two numbers, positive 2 and positive 5, into the brackets. You can always check your work by expanding the brackets back out. X times x is x squared, 2 times 5 is 10, and the middle terms, 2x and 5x, add up to 7x. We have met our first goal. Next, we will look at a case where the middle term is negative, but the constant term is positive. Our goal here is to understand why both brackets will contain minus signs. Our objective is to factorize x squared minus 8x plus 12. We need two numbers that multiply to give positive 12 and add to give negative 8. Think about your directed numbers. For two numbers to multiply to a positive but add to a negative, both numbers must be negative. Let's list the negative factor pairs of 12. Here are the factors of 12. Negative 1 and negative 12, negative 2 and negative 6, and negative 3 and negative 4. Now, let's find which pair adds up to negative 8. Negative 1 plus negative 12 is negative 13. Negative 2 plus negative 6 equals negative 8. That is our pair. We set up our brackets with x at the start of each. Then we insert our values, minus 2 and minus 6. Notice that the signs in the brackets are the same, because the constant term 12 was positive. Whenever that last number is positive, the signs in the brackets will match the sign of the middle term. Now we move on to a slightly more challenging scenario that is very common in IGCSE exams. Our objective is to factorize a quadratic where the constant term is negative. When the constant term, in this case negative 15, is negative, it tells us something very important about our brackets. The signs must be different. One must be a plus, and one must be a minus. Let's list the factor pairs of 15. Don't worry about the signs just yet, just the numbers. We need these numbers to add up to positive 2. Because one number will be negative, this is actually like finding the difference between the two numbers. The difference between 3 and 5 is 2, so that's likely our pair. To get a positive 2, the larger number must be positive. So we use positive 5 and negative 3. Let's check 5 times negative 3 is negative 15, and 5 plus negative 3 is positive 2. Now we write out our brackets. We put x at the start, and then our numbers, plus 5 and minus 3. Remember, the order of the brackets doesn't matter, so writing x minus 3 times x plus 5 is also perfectly correct. For our final example, we will tackle an expression where both the middle and end terms are negative. This requires careful attention to your positive and negative signs. We need two numbers that multiply to give negative 21 and add to give negative 4. Because the constant is negative, we know we need one positive and one negative number. Let's look at the factor pairs of 21. Since we need them to add to negative 4, the difference between the numbers must be 4. 7 take away 3 is 4. So 3 and 7 are our numbers. To result in a negative 4 when added, the larger number must carry the negative sign. Therefore, we use negative 7 and positive 3. Let's verify. Negative 7 times 3 is negative 20. 1, and negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. We place these into our brackets with x. A common mistake is getting the signs the wrong way round. If we had used positive 7 and negative 3, the middle term would have been positive 4x. Always double-check your addition at the end to ensure the sign of the middle term matches the original expression. To wrap up, you have now learned how to factorize Monic quadratics in several different forms. If we have x squared plus bx plus c, the brackets both have plus signs. If we have x squared minus bx plus c, both are minus. And if the constant c is negative, we have one of each sign. Remember the golden rule. Look at the constant term first. If it is positive, the signs in the brackets are the same. If it is negative, the signs are different. Here is your checklist for success. 1. List factor pairs of C. 2. Find the pair that adds to B. 3. Watch your signs. And 4. Expand to check. Practicing these 4 types of questions will make you much more confident for your IGCSE exams. You are now able to factorize monic quadratics with both same and different signs in the brackets. Well done.